Sure. First of all, I want to say thanks on behalf of our football program to all the fans that came out on Saturday night. It was, an electric atmosphere with the new stadium rededication, everything that happened. I think everyone there embraced the blackout. I saw really anybody was wearing anything but black. So very electric atmosphere, great crowd, great, college football venue. I definitely felt that when our team took the field that it felt great, just everything. So thank you to everyone who came out, and like I said, especially our students came out in force. Regarding the game as a team, the first two games we've done a good job in the turnover margin. We're +6, so our offense didn't turn the ball over. Did a great job with ball security, and obviously our quarterback made some great decisions. Defensively, we're forcing some turnovers. Reggie Williams made a really nice play on an interception on their sideline. We had the strip and the scoop and score out of Denzel Rogers, and so that's a big difference. I think this year, last year is we're being our turnover margin, and we're +6, and last year at this time we're in the negative regarding that. I also think one of the other positives for us was that our team stuck together. I'm flanked here by two offensive guys. At no point, even though we were struggling on the defensive side of the ball, did our offense really ever point fingers at anybody. So we stuck together as a team throughout the course of things. Our special teams had a big impact on the game. I thought our kickoff team did a great job, allowed us some field position on defense, which we didn't always necessarily take advantage of, but Marco Idarosa had several touchbacks, and we didn't touch it back. He had good hang time, got down to the one. We had excellent coverage. Deontay Hurst, sophomore, was very, very disruptive on that team. Our average starting field position was great because of our kickoff team. Obviously, our kickoff return team did a great job handling a variety of kicks, and when they did kick it deep, Eric Thompson was able to rip them, and then punt team was great because they never had to go out there once. And punt return did a good job too, got some pressure and forced a shank one time. So special teams, which involves everybody on offense and defense, is adding in and helping this football team. Offensively, I think the biggest thing, there's going to be a lot of statistics and a lot of things you're going to point to, but we did a great job from whistle to the next snap of the organization of our offense. Getting personnel in and out of the ball game, lining up properly, formationally. We had no penalties. We had no pre-snap penalties because of delays of game, false starts, illegal formations. We only had one penalty on offense, and that was on a play-action pass. We had a lineman get a little bit too far downfield, but we had no offensive penalties that were pre-snap penalties and didn't have to take or cause any timeouts or anything because we were running short on the play clock. So a lot of credit has to go to our offensive coaches, our offensive players, the sense of urgency, getting our different personnel in and out. We played a lot of different guys on the offensive side of the ball, and the things that we could control on offense, we did a great job of before the snap. Once the ball was snapped, there's still some things we could clean up technique-wise, but we were able to have a lot of balance on both sides of the ball. A lot of that has to do, again, with our offensive staff, but a lot of that falls on our quarterback. He did a good job of managing the game and getting us into some good plays. And then, we distributed the ball very well. Obviously, Charles Johnson had the 12 receptions was a big part, but Izzy was involved. We involved our tight ends. All of our running backs got involved. A lot of different guys got involved there. So huge night offensively. They kept the gas pedal down. They never let up at any point. Just kept going out and scoring points. And we scored 11 touchdowns on the offensive side of the ball. Never had to punt. We did have one turnover on downs, but a very prolific night from the offensive side. Defensively, on the other hand, a lot of struggles on the defensive side of the ball. At the beginning of the game, we struggled with their tempo. We had a hard time getting lined up. A lot of pre-snap errors on the defensive side of the ball. That falls on coaches and players. We weren't lined up. When we did get lined up, there was a lot of times we had some one-on-one matchups that we didn't win. Pedro Powell, we had some guys in a position to make some tackles on him, and he was a better player than we were. We didn't make those tackles, and sometimes the ball was spit out into space, and we struggled with that too. So the other thing that was disappointing is our lack of ability to make some adjustments, both on the field and off the field. We were scrambling in the first half. Again, they come out a little bit different, some stuff that we had necessarily prepared for. We struggled to make adjustments, both coaching staff and players at times. Some of that had to do with the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of time. We had 3 scoring drives with less than 7 seconds. It seemed like when we got over to the bench, we were right back out there and trying to get some stuff in, and so we struggled with that. And then at halftime, we did make some adjustments, and there were a couple times we played a little better, but it seemed like we couldn't get off the field on third down. And when we did have opportunities to get off the field, we had penalties. We had a 3rd and 9. That was an incomplete ball, but we had one of our defensive ends jumped off sides. We get a stop. We get a defensive holding penalty on our punt return team, which puts our offense back out on the field. And so, obviously, it was a struggle on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think there's necessarily one thing that you could point to. There's a variety of factors, and it's not acceptable. I appreciate, though, our offense bailing us out. Our offensive special team bailed out the defense, so we talk about that a lot. We've won some ball games around here in the past, 13-10, and we've had some times where our defense has helped out our offense. This is one of those games when defensively we were struggling, and I was glad to see that our offense picked us up, and our special teams picked us up, and we were able to still get a 37-point victory as a team at home. So those were some thoughts on things. I think moving forward, the challenge for our offense, there are some things we can be better at. We're going to have to do a great job, coaches and players, of we've already talked about it. I don't think it'll happen because of our leaders, but no sense of complacency, no sense of scored 83 points, we got it all figured out. Same thing on special teams. Shouldn't be a whole lot of issues regarding motivating our defense and what they got to do moving forward to help this football team continue to win football games. So regarding the Tiffin game, that'll be our first GLIAC road trip with an afternoon start. So, again, we'll have to get our travel roster. We played a lot of guys on Saturday with the GLIAC rules. Have to get our travel roster in check heading down there. I look for our offense to pick up where it left off. We've played them now since I've been a head coach 3 years in a row now. This will be the 3rd different defensive coordinator that we faced. They've had 3 different defensive coordinators. So a little bit of a challenge from the perspective that we don't have a lot of tape on their defense. We have a McKendree game, which McKendree was a full house T that doesn't resemble anything that we run, and Michigan Tech's a little bit more 2-back. So there might have to be some adjustments made by our players and coaches, especially in the game, because I'm not sure exactly. We don't have a large history of tape with a new defensive coordinator on how they're going to defend a 1-back team, which we are. So that's probably our challenge on that end of things. From a defensive standpoint, they definitely like to throw the ball around. They got down last week against Michigan Tech and kind of abandoned the run in an effort to try to catch back up. So it's a lot of speed and space. There's a lot of guys out in space. There's going to be a lot more of these situations Saturday where we're going to have defenders that are going to have to make some one-on-one tackles and be in a position to make some plays. We struggle with that on Saturday. We got to get guys, making those plays in proper position. And like I said, on Saturday, we were confused at times that now allow our guys to snap vision and break and make those plays. And we've got to make sure that we do a good job as a coaching staff of getting our players to play fast and understand where they need to be pre-snap so that we can make some of those plays, because there are going to be a lot of times where it's going to be a tackler and a ball carrier out in space because of the nature of what they do on offense. So it's the next game, it's the next test, and any prior results against Tiffin University have no impact whatsoever in this game. Any prior results versus Notre Dame College, good or bad, don't necessarily have to have an impact on this game. We need to come in here and prepare and do what we need to do to make sure we get 2-0 in the GLIAC Saturday after the game.
Coach, admittedly, Tiffin's a team that still isn't quite up to par with, the level of play in the GLIAC and whatnot. With, as you said, prior results aren't a big deal, but with the history you guys have had against them, assuming the situation rises again where you guys get up big on them, does that give you more of an opportunity defensively to try some new stuff and be able to experiment a little bit?
I don't even know if we've gotten there that answer that question. I mean, I think the thing, I guess this is kind of piggyback off your question. Our offensive personnel are very much set. Charles Johnson's our W. We know who our tailbacks are. We know the pieces of the puzzle. We are still on the defensive side of the ball, and you saw this Saturday night, moving guys around, trying to find the best combination of people relative to their skill sets. And we're still a growth process as us as coaching, finding out about players. I'm still learning about Brad Horling's strengths and weaknesses. We moved Charles Hill, the linebacker. I know he's been around this program, but we're still figuring some things out. We made a switch to put Deontay Hurst at the nickel and move Jared Cox into the boundary at one point in that game, and move Brad from our boundary invert back to our rover position. And we played a little bit of Devontae Jones at some field corner. There's more of that happening right now on the defensive side of the ball, as we're dealing with, again, figuring out our identity, who we're going to be on defense. And so that is the dynamic, a completely different dynamic between the two sides, and that's something that we continue to have to take an evaluation, look at as a coaching staff throughout the week and then on Saturday too.
Yeah, man, looking at, after getting a chance to look at the film, are there any specific changes that you can tell us about defensively?
In regards to personnel or scheme?
Personnel.
Yeah, I think we've got to we didn't get much production out of our defensive line Saturday, so taking a look at the pieces of the puzzle up there, and who might give us a chance to get a little more production up there is something we've been talking about here earlier in the week. They weren't as much of a factor as I had anticipated maybe they were going to be. So I think some of that had to do with the style of play that we were getting was a little bit different than we see in camp and those type of things too. We got some new players up front, them adjusting the style of play. So, we got the guys we got. It's just looking at what positions we might put him in or what we might do. Look at a defensive lineman. Is he better to stay in a 5 technique and run up the field? Are we better long sticking him and doing more movements or staying in base? Just kind of sorting through the piece of the puzzle and trying to figure out what our players are good at all levels, but especially the defensive line.
Matt, with that, how much of a surprise? Obviously you didn't like all the points that you gave up and all the yards, but how big of a surprise was that defensive performance? Did you have a feeling that you had some weaknesses going in, or?
Well, I knew the running back. We knew the running back was a good player, and he was a powerful back. And I talked about that a lot. And the thing that he's a good player. Pedro Powell's a good player, and that given a little bit of the dynamic of what we have on the defensive side of the ball, a straight ahead rushing attack might prove to be a little bit problematic. So was I completely surprised that some of the things were hitting, where they were hitting and stuff like that? At times, yeah. At times, though, we had guys there. We had guys that were there to limit the thing to a very minimal game, and we weren't making those plays. We weren't in a position. So that probably surprised more than anything. We had some guys out there that had made plays in the past that when it was time to make a play and make a tackle, didn't make those tackles.
Tim, obviously you guys did a good job protecting Heath and helping the passing game a lot on Saturday, but talk about the running game and how you guys opened those holes for an array of backs, and it was kind of just a group effort between you guys on the line and the running backs themselves.
Yeah, the line did a great job last night blocking up the people who we were supposed to block. Offensive coaches got us in great looks, got us who we were supposed to block up, and showed us the personnel, stuff like that. And the backs obviously did a great job of reading their keys and making the right cuts and stuff like that.
And then Israel, how important is it for you guys as the receivers and the offense with the quarterback throwing the ball to have a running game like you had on Saturday, where you can kind of lean on that and then play off of that?
I think it's very important. If we continue to run the ball, that means the safety is going to be more down in the box, and that's going to open up a lot of play action passes for our good receivers like CJ, me, Brandon Green, Keontae Miskell, and Daryl Pitts. So the better we run the ball, the more the passing will be open.
This could go to either one of you guys, Tim or Israel. The offense had a real good night, but the defense struggled. And Coach was talking about trying to prevent any kind of division between the offense and defense. You guys are both veterans. How do you work that when you're dealing with what you guys were able to do and what the defense couldn't do?
We're always not going to score 83 points a game. Some games, like last year, the Michigan Tech game, it was real tough to score any points, and then we got going in the second half, and the defense kept us in the game the whole time. We just got to know as a team that some days the offense is going to be hitting, some days the defense is going to be hitting, but we all got to be one collective unit and be there for one each other and lean on that other side of the ball when the time is needed.
Exactly, just what Israel said. It's a team game, so they're going to pick us up some games, we're going to pick them up some games.
Coach, anything new on Hershey this week, or?
The update was his shoulder's fine. Last Wednesday in practice, he suffered an injury to another part of his body, and that's going to be a week-to-week thing right now. So I don't know. I can't tell you, to be honest with you. Just being honest, I don't know about his availability for Saturday. Some of that's going to be dependent on how, when we get with our athletic training staff, how he's looking. So at the same time, that hasn't been a huge problem, us running the ball without him. So, we've got having Hershey back would be a luxury, but I don't want to take anything from those other three guys and what they're doing. I mean, Chris Robinson's doing a great job. Chris Robinson's doing a great job. Mike Rattay is Mr. Everything. And, I think Spencer, like I said, you talk about improvement from week 1 to week 2, Kirk Spencer. Kirk Spencer was confused at times week 1. Huge upgrade we wanted to. And that's the other thing I probably should have mentioned in my comments. We have some freshmen that made big strides from week 1 to week 2. Connor Gould at center. Good night. Jamie Potts, doing a lot of things. So some of this rapid improvement we're seeing are these freshmen. Even a guy like Brad Horley on defense. We didn't play great on defense, but Brad made a nice play on the ball. I had an interception around the football, so some of our younger players did make some improvements. So, I do want to recognize those guys because they're showing up on the stat sheet.